It has been one of the hottest, most humid summers on record, which can wreak havoc on your lawn. Today we're going to talk about some of the most common issues that pop up in late summertime, how you can get your lawn back on track and thriving throughout the cooler weather of the fall. Without a doubt, one of the biggest issues that can affect your lawn in the summertime is crabgrass. You may have noticed earlier on in the season everything looked really nice in your lawn, and then around July, especially in my area around Chicago, you start to notice this lime green colored grass that starts to pop up in your lawn. That's the beginning of crabgrass. The good news is crabgrass is an annual weed, which means it only lives for one season, but what it does toward the end of its life cycle is it starts to put out seeds. Each crabgrass plant can put out up to 150,000 seeds, each of which can become a new plant next year. So if year after year you've dealt with crabgrass issues in your lawn, a great way to combat that is an application of Scott's Turf Builder with Halt's Crabgrass Preventer. What you want to do is apply that to your lawn once soil temperatures get between 55 to 60 degrees in the spring. That will prevent those crabgrass seeds from germinating and become the plants that can take over your lawn later on in the summer. The next common lawn care issue that many people deal with in the summertime has to do with dry, compacted soil, which can become hydrophobic, meaning even if you get some rainfall or you water your grass, the soil is so hard that the water just rolls right off the top of it and is not absorbed into the roots of the grass to help it thrive the way that it should. A good way to tell if your lawn is compacted or not is to do what's called the screwdriver test. All you have to do is take a screwdriver, push it down into your lawn. If it goes in easily, about 3 or 4 inches, the odds are good that your soil moisture is where you want it and your soil is not too compact. If you have a really difficult time pushing that down even an inch or two, it's a really good indication that you've got dry, compacted soil, which means you should aerate your lawn to allow air, water, and nutrients to get down to the roots of your grass and help it thrive. The cooler weather that we get in the fall make for ideal conditions for aerating your lawn. You definitely don't want to aerate your lawn during stressful summer conditions when it's hot and humid, but waiting until the weather cools down below 80 degrees is the ideal time for lawn aeration. The next common issue that many people are dealing with toward the end of the summertime is lawn fungus and disease. Hot, humid weather, specifically over nighttime, is the perfect recipe for fungus and disease in your lawn. Preventing fungus and disease is the best plan of action as opposed to trying to treat it once you already have it. Applying a product like Scott's Disease X, which has the active ingredient of azoxystrobin, helps prevent up to 26 different types of lawn disease from popping up into your yard. One of the most common being brown patch, which can take over your lawn and give you an ugly brown appearance throughout what used to be a healthy canopy of grass. A good indication of when you should apply your Scott's Disease X has to do with the daytime high temperature and the humidity that day. If those two numbers combine are 150 or higher, you are at a high risk of fungus and disease in your lawn, and that's a good time to put down that Scott's Disease X at a preventative rate. Trying to cure the lawn disease and fungus after it's already popped up can be really challenging, and it can take a long time for your grass to bounce back. Last, we want to think about what we're going to do to help strengthen up our grass throughout the ideal growing conditions of the fall. This is the perfect time for dethatching, aerating, overseeding, fertilizing. Not everybody has to do all those things, so let's talk about what might be best for you. If you have patchy areas in your lawn and maybe it's not as thick as you would like, overseeding is a great way to incorporate new grass and help everything thicken up and thrive. In my area in the Midwest, the ideal time for overseeding is in early September. You want to make sure that you give yourself at least 4 weeks for your grass to get established before your first frost or your first freeze of the season, and for us that typically comes in mid-October. Before overseeding your lawn, dethatching your lawn is a great way to allow those grass seeds to get down to make contact with the soil and allow them to germinate. Using a dethatching machine can pull up lots of organic material from the top of your soil that you maybe didn't even realize was there. After dethatching your lawn, you're going to want to remove all that organic material that your dethatching machine pulled up from the top of your soil. When overseeding your lawn, it's important to choose a grass seed that's appropriate for your growing conditions. In my backyard, I get pretty much full sun all day, so this is ideal for growing Kentucky bluegrass, perennial rye, and tall fescue. Those thrive in these conditions. My front yard is heavily shaded, and that's where you want to go with a dense shade mix of primarily different types of fescue, which can handle that low level of light. Once you're done, you can apply a starter fertilizer, which is going to add extra nutrients, which is going to help that grass germinate and thrive. And you want to hold off of mowing after an overseed for at least 2 weeks. During that process, it's important to keep that grass seed wet because if it dries out, it's not going to grow. So watering your lawn for a few minutes in the morning and also a few minutes in the afternoon, just enough to keep it moist without overwatering it, which could cause runoff. If you already have a well-established lawn, fertilizing, especially in the fall, is a great plan of action to help strengthen everything up, give it all the nutrients it needs to make it through the stressful months of the winter, come out in the spring and look like $1,000,000. My goal every fall is to get down at least 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. My favorite product to use is Scott's Turf Builder Lawn Food. It's a 3204 analysis, which means 32% of the product is nitrogen. So for about every 3 pounds that I apply to my lawn, I'm getting 1 pound of nitrogen, which is going to improve the overall growth and color of your lawn, and it's going to help with the overall health of your grass throughout the fall. Lawn care doesn't have to be difficult or intimidating, so get out and enjoy the lawn.